I look at LinkedIn as the ideal networking event. Like when you're starting out, what's one of the best ways to find clients? It's to go to events, meet people. Well, now I can do that on LinkedIn and meet exactly the people I want. My goal is to get 4 to 6 activities per week out of those 2 longer form content pieces per month, so that there's that steady flow of activity on LinkedIn. If my purpose is to come and sell somebody, that, in my experience, that doesn't work. You've got to provide value first, which will create opportunities for sales later on. And if somebody reaches out to you and is asking for your help, then that's why you're there, is to do that.
And that is coming up next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show, so stay tuned. So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough, use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams? Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. We have created a tremendous community of bootstrappers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ambitious, resourceful, and want to get things done. We brainstorm, support, and help each other out. So come join us. Navigate to bootstrapping.group, join today, and get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series absolutely free. If you enjoyed this video, then do let us know by hitting that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, then go ahead and hit that thumbs down button and give us your honest feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging videos, interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing, and do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we'll be talking with Bill Bice. So Bill is a serial entrepreneur since the age of 14. After dropping out of college, he bootstrapped his way to an 8-figure revenue company, and he's passionate about enabling smaller businesses to more effectively compete with their larger counterparts. To do this, he has founded Boomtime, a company that tackles marketing as technology problem. Welcome, Bill.
It's great to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Anytime we get to talk about the things we're talking about is a good day.
Awesome. So let's get into that good stuff. So marketing as technology, let us unpack that. How did you come to this conclusion that marketing can be done through technology, leveraging technology? And tell us, how do you actually implement that using technology?
Yeah, so I'm a programmer at heart. My first company was a software company, and I wrote a lot of the code for that. So I naturally look at marketing, just the challenge of marketing in terms of the data, and the reason I decided to tackle the problem is because I have founded and invested in a series of companies, and just gotten really frustrated with getting consistent. I mean, you spend your own money on marketing, you really want it to work, and so the frustration around that is what caused me to go after and tackle the problem. I mean, if you're running a small business, there's thousands of options to help you with your marketing, which is another way of saying that nobody's really figured it out, because there's like a go-to, this is what you do in order to be great at marketing for your business. And so I think that's a really interesting challenge. And we're talking about a discipline that has long avoided scale and efficiency, unlike just about everything else in our businesses. And that needs to change if we're going to be able to get a consistent ROI out of the spend that we put into marketing.
Yeah. All right. And from reviewing your website, I understand that you put a lot of emphasis on word of mouth marketing. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's because it's the one thing that really works, right? So what I love is sitting down with a business owner and say, where'd your last couple of new clients come from? And it was a referral from, that's the kind of business where marketing really will work for that business. and you can do it in a way that's very cost effective. And you can take that approach even in an early stage, whether it's a solopreneur or a startup. You can apply the same techniques. It takes time and commitment to do this well. But if you do the really hard part, which is make a great product or service and build a great brand, which is just, people's impression of working with you, then suddenly marketing becomes vastly easier if you have laid that foundation. And so anytime where you've got those circumstances, the approach we take to marketing works amazingly well.
Nice. And so, obviously word of mouth marketing is as traditional as it gets. But how do you, this is a very human centric sort of way of marketing yourself or the company or the product you're selling. How do you inject technology into this?
Well, see, that's the great thing about being in a digitally driven era of marketing, which is now you can really take word of mouth. You say, okay, great, I get referrals in, but I need more referrals. Now we're in an age where you can really amplify the effect of word of mouth. That's the beauty of doing this. So I do a lot of work in B2B. So it's all LinkedIn is the primary way to grow that audience. And so if you've got those core things working, now we can take that message and we can take it out to LinkedIn, and we can run an aggressive connection campaign, build a much bigger audience that are exactly the right prospects of who you want to talk to. So
I see.
I look at LinkedIn as the ideal networking event. Like when you're starting out, what's one of the best ways to find clients? It's to go to events, meet people. Well, now I can do that on LinkedIn and meet exactly the people I want to. I don't have to eat, horrible high calorie food at the same time.
Yeah.
And I get to target the perfect prospects and give them a steady stream of, and if you take a insight driven approach where you really understand the problems of the market that you're targeting, and you're sharing with them things that are really going to make their lives better. That's a really effective technique if you can get to the right people. And now we've got the perfect channel to get to the right people.
I see. And you talk about this term called Fuse automation. So can you help us understand what this is?
Yeah, so Fuse is the platform that we created so that we could deliver marketing as a service in a very efficient way. Because it's getting back to that scale issue. We know what the strategies and tactics are. Now what we need to do is be able to do that very efficiently over and over again. And so a big part of that is that, so this is really a content-driven approach to marketing, right? It's developing yourself as a thought leader in the niche that you care about. And the hardest thing about doing that is getting a steady flow of really great content. Right? If it were easy, everybody would do it. Yeah. And what happens over and over again, particularly in smaller companies, is things are a little slow, and so you focus on it, then things pick back up, and because you stop doing the marketing, they get slow again. If you really want to grow your business, you've got to do it consistently. So we have a network of 300 subject matter experts that are how we get really great content. I call it the copywriter problem. You don't really want to try to teach somebody who might be really good at writing, who was working on a car dealership last week, and this week is going to understand your enterprise SaaS tool. It just doesn't work. You need to find an expert who already knows your target market inside and out and can take your ideas and very quickly flesh them out so that you're not staring at a blank screen. All you got to do is very quickly review and edit something that's fully formed for you. Yeah. And so you're really creating a marketing machine where you're staying in front of your audience over and over again.
I see. And so in your opinion, how much content one needs to post on sites like LinkedIn? Like, is it once per week, once per month? What is your sweet spot?
So our goal is the typical thing that we'll do is create 2 longer form pieces of content per month, but then reuse that on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn doesn't have the duplicate content penalty that Facebook does. So you can take one piece of content, pull multiple pull quotes from it, repost it multiple times, come back and create comments on those existing posts. Every time you touch it, it causes it to come back to the top of your feed for your audience. So, my goal is to get 4 to 6 activities per week out of those 2 longer form content pieces per month so that there's that steady flow of activity on LinkedIn.
I see. And you really get... And so, Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
You really get two bites at the apple, because if you're running a connection campaign to get, so you've got to sign up for Sales Navigator, because basic LinkedIn just isn't sophisticated enough. But if you put time into the queries to get to the right prospects, so we'll usually send out 40 to 50 connection requests a day, every single day. So you're adding roughly 1,000 new connections every month. So that grows into a pretty significant audience before long. And if you're really doing this right, then it becomes organic and it starts to grow, because now your audience is sharing your content. Other people are coming and following you just because you're being really helpful to what they care about, which is themselves. And then sometimes you happen to reach out to somebody just at the time that they really care about the thing that you're talking about. And so you get a conversation right off the bat. But then you get a second bite at the apple just by, staying in front of them forever after.
I see. And so when you said long form, is it like 2,000 words? Is it 10,000 words? Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
Yeah, so long form these days is more like 300 to 600 words. So
really, I see.
So yeah, it's definitely in context. And then, the best thing is if you're also creating video versions of that same content, whether they're animations or, just literally sitting at your desk with your iPhone and capturing a video and getting a 45-second snapshot of the most important thing that's in that article. And using those together, that's really effective.
Got it. And now you also mentioned sending connection requests. So do you automate that process, or you do that manually? What is your recommendation?
Yeah, so we use a combination. LinkedIn has a lot of the tools that people were using for years. LinkedIn has really cracked down on that. So what we do is automate the workflow, but we use real people to actually make the stuff happen. It's what's working today, and you can do it for yourself. The way I recommend it is sort of like the golden hour of prospecting idea. So if you're a B2B salesperson, you might mark off, 10 to 11 o'clock, I'm going to use that time to call. Well, do the exact same thing for LinkedIn and say, okay, 8 to 9 a.m. every day, I'm going to use that time period to get out my 30 to 40 connection requests for the day. And you can run that yourself. You have to make the time commitment to do it.
Yeah. And, lately what I've found is there are a lot of people pitching their services, products on LinkedIn. Have you found that, the temperament of people getting the connection requests and responding, has it changed over the last maybe year or two?
I think the word you just used is the problem. It's pitching, right? That's what doesn't work. So I think you have to come into this with the attitude that I want to grow my network because I'm here to be helpful to my network. And if my purpose is to come and sell somebody, that in my experience, that doesn't work. You've got to provide value first, which will create opportunities for sales later on. And if somebody reaches out to you and is asking for your help, then that's why you're there, is to do that. So sales pitches don't work. What we have found really effective is to take the challenger sale approach and do that on LinkedIn, which is, that's research that Gartner did in Fortune 500. We've taken it and applied it to smaller businesses and seen it be amazingly successful. And really, it's just insight-driven sales, right? It's the next evolution of solution selling. And we've all had the solution selling approach, right? We sit down and I ask you, well, what keeps you up at night? And where do you want to be 3 years from now? Well, if I've worked with a ton of companies like yours, I actually already know what problems you have. And I have better perspective on it because I've talked to hundreds of CEOs running companies like yours, and you're running your one company. So if I come to the table with insights that come out of that, then there's real value that's happening in that process. And so you're just taking that same thing and doing it on LinkedIn and providing that value. Don't sell, really help people with what the challenges they're having in their companies, in their market.
I see. Okay. So will you mind going into a little bit more detail as well? Like, what kind of message, let's say if you're sending me a connection request, what will you say in that connection request? And maybe I can do a little role play on how I can respond. And then you can tell me how this whole thing works, because that's what people are really looking for to implement this on their own and then figure out if they can do it. Otherwise, they may come back to you and ask for help.
Yeah, the problem I find is that when people start to do this in mass, they lose why it works when you're doing it individually, which you turn it into this sort of marketing piece. And it shouldn't be that. It should be exactly what I would send to you if I'm just reaching out to you. That's what I'm doing. It's just I'm going to do 40 of them at a time. So I want it to be a very personal message. I want it to be something real. So I might reach out to you and say, I'd love to connect with you. What I'm passionate about is helping businesses grow. And so it's going to be something very straightforward like that. And it's going to match the audience that who I'm interested in connecting with. And if you've done a good job of optimizing your profile, so that's our starting point, right? Is to make your profile really appealing to your target audience.
Got it.
And it shouldn't read like a resume anymore. It should be much more personal. It should be like you're talking to that person that you just met at a networking event.
Yeah.
And if you take that approach, then you should be getting somewhere in the 35 to 45% acceptance range for the connection requests that you're sending out.
I see.
And then the key is to follow that up with a message. So after you get the connection accepted, the best time to follow up is a day later. A lot of people check LinkedIn the same time. So ideally you're doing it 24 hours after they accept. That's a little tough if you're doing it yourself. But doing that follow-up is really crucial. That's a really great time to share whatever has been your best performing article on LinkedIn, something that really, not salesy once again, really insight driven. And this is when you can introduce yourself and say, hey, here's an article I wrote recently. I thought you might be useful to you. And that's what gets people to really understand more about who you are and what you do. And sometimes you just happen to be reaching out when somebody's interested. And so we typically see about 4 to 8% of those connection requests that are accepted turned into conversations. And about 2/3 of it happens on that follow-up message, not on the initial connection request. So there's real value that comes in that follow-up. And what I say all the time is you got to give your best stuff away for free. That's what you should be doing in that message. You should take the most valuable thing that you can provide and give that away for free in that content.
Got it. And then you mentioned Sales Navigator and properly sort of focusing on figuring out who your real prospect is. So can you walk us through that process as well a little bit about, how do you narrow down your prospect list and make sure that it is absolutely focused?
Yeah, so we want to start by creating the archetype of who our ideal prospect is. If you're in a higher priced B2B area, you've probably got multiple decision makers. So I would divide that into, if there's 4 different people that are typically involved, I'm going to create 4 archetypes, and I'm going to run campaigns with different messages and different follow-up content for each of those. So if I need the CEO and the CFO and the CTO to all buy in, they all have different things they care about. So we're going to customize that for each one of those. And then the goal in putting that query together is, can I go find a query that's going to give me, our goal is typically to end up with 500 to 700 people that are in the results that match that archetype. Here's the CTO that I need. That's a decision maker in my sales process. I want to be able to find a big enough group that I can be efficient about running through that, but small enough that I'm really getting specific to people who are the right target. It's just not going to work if we're sending it out to everybody. And if you're doing this right, everybody you're reaching out to is going to see value in those insights that you are sharing with them.
I see.
And the only way to do it effectively in Sales Navigator is the experimentation, to sit in there running queries over and over again, and getting the right industries, finding people that show up in the query that aren't the right ones, and figuring out, well, what am I going to add as an exclusion to drop that person out until we get a really tight group that is exactly the kind of prospect, exactly who you'd want to meet at a networking event.
Got it. And what about some other forms of marketing, like email marketing and ads, like Facebook ads, Google ads? Do you consider them to be an effective tool in the mix, or in the mix of word of mouth marketing, or that's totally separate out of context?
Well, my advice is build this foundation first before you spend any money on advertising. So one of the things that's really frustrating is you find somebody who is doing the ad spend, but yet they haven't understood the customer journey on their website. They don't have good lead capture on the website for the people that they're driving there.
I see.
If you don't have the foundation built, then that ad spend, it's so difficult as a small business to compete anyway. You're never going to get there if you're not doing a good job of capturing leads, if you don't have a nurturing campaign set up so that you're automatically following up on all those leads. So let's build all that foundation first. And let's make sure we're getting all the low-hanging fruit. We're capturing all the referrals that are already coming to us. And we're getting everybody that's all of our existing clients, all of our past clients, every prospect we've ever talked to. Let's make sure we're top of mind with all of them and generating all the referrals that we can out of that existing audience. And let's go build a bigger audience on LinkedIn. And once we've done all of that, and for a lot of businesses, all the growth you want, we just captured it right there. Then it's time to go spend money on advertising, because then it's really going to work. And if you do that, you've literally built a printing machine for money, because you can figure out, if I spend this much money on ads, I'm going to create this amount of business, and it's just a matter of how fast I want to grow.
Yeah, I see. That's great. Now let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. So you started your first business at 14. So can you take us down the memory lane and tell us a little bit about that business? How did it work out, and what kind of lessons did you learn from that?
Yeah, so I was jumping over the chain link fence that separated my high school from the little strip mall next door. And there was a couple there, Tico and Marge, that ran 3 sports stores there. And I really got a love of entrepreneurship from them, because I saw them running their own little miniature sporting empire and having a great time doing that. And they let me buy computers on their behalf and play with them, which was ideal for a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And I started, with their help, a company that put on road races, so like marathons. And so we'd go out and get sponsors, and I wrote the software to time the events. And so that's what got me into programming. And that turned into a consulting business to just help other local businesses with these newfangled microcomputers. And eventually I chose one market, which was law firms, and we ended up designing an ERP system and became the biggest in our niche within legal, and sold that to what's the 800-pound gorilla in the legal market, Thomson Reuters. And so it's all sort of connected for me. And it started with that early experience at the sports store. I
see. And so in your journey, what kind of mistakes did you make as you learned the sort of ins and outs of marketing, entrepreneurship, sales? Can you share any mistakes that you made, and what kind of lessons did you learn from them?
Yeah, my biggest mistake was, so when I was 18 and started my first software company, I thought I knew it all, right? I was 18, I was running my own business. Today, I try much harder to learn from people who have already been there, right? It took me much longer to build that legal software company because I went through the pain and suffering of doing it all myself. And one of the big advantages we have as humans is the ability to project into a future we can envision. And we can go find people who have already been there and done that and learn from them before we've even done it. And in a lot of ways that ties to my experience today in marketing, because we're not creating any of this, right? We're just looking at what's working really well in the market, learning from that, and then figuring out how to make that same thing work better with scale and efficiency. So I really believe in mentorship and learning from others, because it's so much faster than beating your head against the wall and doing it yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. And how did you get your first few customers in your software company that you started at 18?
Well, so I didn't know that at age 18 that it didn't make sense to walk into the corner office of the managing partner of a law firm and sell him the software I was writing the night before. And part of it was the advantage of we had the first network software that really took advantage of this new technology. But that was word of mouth also. So legal is a very word of mouth driven market, both in terms of what they buy and how you find an attorney. And so by taking care of the first few clients that we got through just the really hard effort of knocking on doors, it it grew out of that word of mouth. Now it took 15 years because I had no idea what I was doing, but eventually I got a good team and got a great VP of sales and really learned from some amazing people. And so we built a better product and took care of our customers and let the word of mouth work from there.
I see. That's great. And you mentioned you got a good team, and I'm firm believer in, you cannot do anything alone. You have to have a really good team in place to be able to accomplish the goals that you set out to in front of you. So how did you manage to hire a team at such a young age?
Well, so we were all young at the time. One of the things I've always done is I've always hired for attitude and aptitude. Mm-hmm. And that works particularly well in areas like technology with programmers. Like you don't need a 4-year computer science degree to be a great programmer. And in fact, it can be a disadvantage to some extent because I can't afford the 2 or 3 years it's going to take that new graduate to really know how to do things. Yeah. So it was really happenstance, but by focusing on attitude and aptitude, we got a really great team. And if you get a core nucleus, it's so much easier to then recruit more people because you just naturally get more people like that starting point. You get their friends. That is word of mouth also. I see. It's particularly important right now, right? The labor market is so tight that what it's like to work at your company is so crucial about how successful you are at recruiting great talent.
Exactly. All right. And in your opinion, is it getting better better or easier to market yourself or your company or product than it was, maybe a decade ago because of less competition? Or is it getting, because of all the new tools that are at our disposal, is it getting easier or harder?
I actually think it's easier if you avoid the two biggest mistakes in marketing. And I think it's easier in B2B today than it is B2C. Like 10 years ago, might have been the other way around. But today, it's so much easier to get to the right people and do it very cost effectively, as long as, one, you don't talk about yourself all the time because nobody cares. Yeah. And two is that you pick an approach and you stick with it. It just, what I see in the data, it's absolutely clear. It's consistency is what really makes marketing work. And so many of the biggest problem with trying to sell any sort of marketing is overcoming all the other things that business owners have bought in the past that were oversold to them that didn't work for marketing. Because there's no miracle solution in marketing. It is hard work and it takes real commitment. And consistency is often the missing ingredient that is the difference between whether your marketing really will work or not. Yeah. And so that's what I love about this approach. If you do it consistently, and it works much better for higher value, higher ticket. This isn't a commodity kind of approach. Yeah. But if what you're doing is in that realm, then what we've been talking about today is enormously effective.
Got it. And, the theme of the show is bootstrapping. So I'm assuming that you have also bootstrapped your businesses when you started at 14 and then started a new company at 18?
Yeah, so the company at 18, the legal software company, that was 100% bootstrapped. We never raised any money. Just literally went out and sold law firms and sold them the stuff that I was writing the night before. And we'd go out, sell a firm, do the data conversion, make changes to the software to match what they wanted. It was 100% bootstrapped, and that turned into an 8-figure company that was and still is number one in its market. I really love bootstrapping. So I've since gone on to start a small early stage VC fund, and there are so many disadvantages to accepting professional investment. If you can find a way to build your company bootstrapping, then that is the route to take, because you will spend more time raising money than it would take to build the product and go sell it to people. In so many cases. So I'm a huge fan of bootstrapping.
My goodness. So I'm going to quote you in this, if you allow me, because you have a VC fund and you are suggesting people bootstrap. So this is amazing, and it fits right into the theme of what we are talking about here on this show.
It's one of the reasons that I really like what you talk about, because it's I come from the same exact experience, right? So I joke that I'm like Bill Gates because I started a software company. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A lot of people don't know that that's where Microsoft was started.
Uh-huh.
Well, I dropped out of the University of New Mexico. Gates dropped out of Harvard. He became the world's richest man. The beauty of the approach that you are such a huge proponent of is that anybody who has the desire and the passion can bootstrap into a really capable business. And that could be a lifestyle business that's just what you love to do, or you can grow it into something that really becomes a growth engine if you have the desire to do so.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing all your insights about marketing, about bootstrapping, starting businesses. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I love talking to business owners about marketing. You can reach me at CEO@boomtime.com. I'm, of course, very easy to find on LinkedIn. It's Bill Bice, B-I-C-E. You can see by looking at my LinkedIn profile exactly what I recommend that you do if what you're doing is in B2B. So if you go to our website at boomtime.com and look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see in action what works really well for any B2B business.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for that information as well. And please go check out Bill's LinkedIn profile and learn from it. And if you need any help in word of mouth marketing, please reach out to him. Thank you so much.
Been a lot of fun. Thanks.
And that's all for now. Until next time. Now, if you're an entrepreneur or a career professional, then I invite you to join our growing community. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. As a welcome bonus, you will get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series and Mastering Your Inner Game video series absolutely free. This series of short videos address some core issues which are instrumental in helping you move forward in your business or career. The videos are yours to view and share for free. No obligations or strings attached, except for one. You have to take action and implement it. So join us today. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out the other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.